Hello lads and ladies, and welcome to this, and welcome back for another video and a stream on the channel. Tonight we are discussing Sky Bet League One. This is your home of the League One hub, where we discuss the weekend ongoings. And blimey, didn't we have a weekend for you? There was big results at the top. There was a Lancashire derby in there as well. So many big games that we are going to discuss, and big moments happening over this weekend as well. We're going to have a look at the few games on Tuesday night as well. As always, we are joined by Jake, our co-host, and he wasn't very happy at the weekend. I wasn't very happy at the weekend. We're going to welcome him in now. Jake, how we doing, mate? Disappointing result for you boys at the weekend, but a good weekend for Sky Bet League One.
Yeah, no, really good weekend for if you're one of the supporters of the teams at the top, probably bar Pompey. But no, yeah, I'm still mad, but when you individual errors that cost you a game like Bolton that you're in, you are going to get mad, especially when you go toe to toe with them. So disappointed, but you know what? Ready to be positive about a few other teams. I think a few other teams have had a really good weekend, haven't they?
They have. And as you can see, guys, on the ticker below, there are all the scores. We're going to go through them as well and have a look at the Sky Bet League One table come the end of it, because we have mentioned the big results at the top. And there's also a common theme where they all won by one goal, bar Bolton Wanderers, who beat Lincoln City as well. Sorry, Jake, we had to mention that. Again, we'll start off in Lancashire and Accrington Stanley, who 2 or 3 weeks ago we were discussing as maybe, is their time in League One up? John Coleman was looking a little bit dishappy and wasn't his normal chipper self and confident self, and Accrington were on the ropes a little bit. Since then, they've won 3 games in a row. They went to Bristol Rovers and won. They've now beaten Morecambe at home as well. So it's 2 wins in a row at home as well, which is good news for them. Morecambe, though, disappointing. Now, for me, Jake, Accrington Stanley have built their bread and butter, haven't they, at home? And, it's a very open stand. It's a very open ground. And they're fully at you. And they've got players who, some of them shouldn't be in League One, let's be honest with you. But they've got their opportunity in League One. And, that's what I like about Accrington Stanley. They give players a chance that may not get in other teams in League One. So, it's a great result for them. Morecambe will come on to in a bit. But Accrington have shown great spirit. And they're 9th in the table. And, this is the Accrington Stanley of, last season.
Yeah, it just shows you how crazy and tight the mid part of this league's going to be this year. It was I think it was the game against Forest Green that they went and got beat by, wasn't it? They were all sort of worried about Accrington and saying, oh, maybe, John Coleman can't get a tune out of the players this year. Looking like one of those that we're probably going to slip into the bottom 4, but they've strung 3 or 4 really good results together. Obviously, this performance on Saturday, I've watched it back. They did pretty well. Obviously, I think they'll be happy that they've scored 3 goals, and Sean McConville isn't even on the scorers or assist chart, and that's massive. That because they were starting to look a little bit one-dimensional with McConville sort of being the main man, really. So. Happy for Tommy Lee as well. He's someone, one that you say that they've plucked out of non-league. Probably wasn't going to be given an opportunity at this level. Certainly, I think he came from Bognor Regis, a young lad who's really taken to League One pretty well. So, really good result for Accrington. But I'm sure we're going to get on to Morecambe. But it was a bit of a nightmare in the office. Didn't even obviously score themselves, did they? They had to be an Accrington player to put the ball through the back of the net.
For me, Derek Adams, he struggled at Plymouth at the end of his spell. And Morecambe, I listened to a lot of, what my friends who are Morecambe fans say, and they're saying that they are very negative. Now, when they win 1-0, Derek Adams' football is brilliant. It really is. But when they're losing games and they're conceding goals of football, a bit like Simon Grayson, a bit like those types of managers in League One, you keep Kills in League Two. It's hard to watch and you don't maybe tolerate as much. But when you win 1-0, nothing's said. It's like, well, we're winning when we're grinding out results and being poor. Conor Ripley, who I praised a lot of times, I know he's conceded another 3. He came out after the game and said he'd like to say something, but he'd get into trouble for what he says. Now, that is brutal, and that says why Morecambe Football Club are at the moment. I know they're without Genoa. I know they're without Ash Hunter. I know Stockton is in and out of the team as well. And the team probably isn't League One standard, but this is a Morecambe team that are giving up and are very sloppy and, are giving away chances that they wouldn't normally do, because Morecambe have the capabilities to keep clean sheets. And the problem is, when they concede one, the heads go, and all of a sudden, they go and see the second. Now, they kept it at 1-0 for parts of the game, levelled it 1-1. As soon as that second went one in, the mentality went, they lost 3-1. Now, already that's a relegation mentality. Although they've never been relegated, you've got to snap out of that and quick, because you'll get eaten alive in League One. They were competing against Wednesday with one of the best teams in the league this year, and they conceded 3 in what? Was it 8 minutes, 9 minutes? Fleetwood did that a lot last year, and from my experience, it won't help you. So Morecambe have got a lot of work to be done, but I'm sure that they'll bounce back. Jake, we'll come on to your game now, because for me, from the outset, Bolton was a tough place to go. You were confident that you're going to get something. Now, for me, Bolton Wanderers are another team that are piling on the pressure. They conceded the least amount of goals in League One. They've conceded 6 goals, which is a really, really good record, and very solid at the back, and the plays that they've got, they should be. However, the talking point was the penalty, where the referee didn't give it, the linesman then overruled it. For me, the player is offside in the build-up. However, it's very tight. Could be offside, couldn't be. But from my look, it was offside. But it was a penalty, in my opinion, that if you're thinking he is onside, you're not quite as sure.
No. Do you know what, Ben? Like you said, I was pretty confident that I thought that we might have been able to go to Bolton and get something. And for 40 minutes, Ben, I thought we did pretty well. They didn't particularly threaten, considering they had some pretty good players on the pitch. I thought they were pretty standard in between the boxes. We marshalled them pretty well. Rushcliffe didn't really have much to do. Jack Diamond had a really good opportunity, and in the form Jack Diamond's in, that's the man you want it to fall to. And unfortunately, decided to try and take it round James Trafford, which you don't often get to do. So he should have hit it first time, but he didn't. And then the penalty. Like you said, the man was offside in the build-up. That's not what I'm mad at. I'm mad at the fact that Adam Jackson pulls his shirt back, the player dives forward. That doesn't make sense to me. That also doesn't make sense. The referee, if you watch the clip back, massively puts his arms out. No, not a chance. You're not going to get away with that one. And then for me, Ben, the referee is the man in charge of the game of football. The linesman's then seen something. He's seen a shirt pull. There was a shirt pull, but how many times do you see shirt pulls in a game that in a penalty area that don't get given? Quite a lot of the time. It didn't all add up to me, and obviously he booked Adam Jackson. Dion Charles took it away. There was points in the second half, Ben, that you wouldn't have seen on the highlights. George Johnston, is it, the centre half, choke slams Adam Johnson in the penalty area. Same linesman who's given this other penalty doesn't give the penalty. We have a penalty appeal taken away from us from Jack Diamond as well, as he got a reputation for going down easy now because of the penalty derby. I don't know, but if so, it's similar, and it's frustrating. The second goal is really frustrating. Sean Rowan is a really good talent. He's been on trial at Chelsea. He's been on trial at Southampton, and it's just underrated stuff. He throws the ball. He doesn't look where he's going. He's tired. He's just come back from international duty where he's played for the Ireland under-21s. They've been knocked out of the European qualifiers by Israel on penalty, so he's had a pretty grueling week. Poor throw-in from Sean. And to be fair to him, for a 19-year-old, he stuck his hand up and said, you know what, I'm sorry. And he came out and did the post-match, which is really brave, I thought, and shows a lot of character from a 19-year-old to be doing that sort of thing. So, look, I was happy-ish with the performance. It's 2 individual errors, one from the officials and one from ourselves that's cost us the game. But we went toe-to-toe for Bolton for probably most of it, which has really encouraged me, because they're a good side. And also, the last thing that I will say, we got to saw Danny Mandrew, who is one player that we've not seen, who we signed from Shamrock, who is meant to be like really like different sort of gravy. And he showed in 20 minutes, half an hour that he had, that he looked really tired and could really affect play at this level. So, yeah, decent day out. I wish they put us in the bottom tier, but they didn't, which was a shame because I'm scared of heights. But, yeah, pretty encouraged with the performance.
I'll get on to that. I think Bolton fans can get onto this. That is tactical advantage for me. You're getting the away fans right out the way, put them at the top, behind the goal. All of a sudden, it's not a massive advantage, but it's a little advantage. And these are the things that Bolton Wanderers do. They do these things that go under the radar and they're nasty to play against. A couple of years ago, they were very nice to play against. They played good football. They were passing through the lines. They'd create 20 chances, but they wouldn't score the ugly goals. They wouldn't see out the ugly wins. It's really annoying me that the top four in League One, and I spoke to Tom about it. If you hear me in that video, all I did all stream was go Barnsley, Bolton, Barnsley, Bolton. And I brought two other clubs because they're right up there. Bolton are now on a really good run. I think they've won the last 3 home games. Barnsley are 6 unbeaten. They are putting wins together. At this point in the season, you look at the other day, we will come to the results very soon. Plymouth went to Wycombe and won 1-0. A tight affair. They scored very early. Vogt scored an absolute screamer. And how he's done it, the lad, what a player. 1-0 away from home. You know, Barnsley have come to Fleetwood and won it in the last minute with a great goal. I'll come on to that in a bit as well. Bolton have seen out a 2-0 win. Ipswich have seen out a really pressured game in 3-2. Peterborough have won 3-2. So they've all won by 1 goal by Bolton. And they don't concede goals, Bolton. So Bolton are in this automatic playoff race. Can they carry it going? I certainly believe so. I do think that there's loads of teams in that race with them, and all they need to do is keep winning. And it's at this next point in the season where they go on from now till January, where the last 2 or 3 years has been their downfall. But they're absolutely in that race. Give Bolton a little bit of credit. I want to know if we hear from you guys as well, who you think, who's in that race as well. Thank you for everyone who is commenting so far. Where the show is horrible, still Jake got to be the worst in the league. Now Gilles have gone, agree with that.
They weren't nice. They basically said, we got up there and they were like, oh yeah, sort of allocated seating until we sort of decide otherwise, which is one of the most strangest things I've ever heard.
Absolutely. Again, Chris Lamb, thank you very much, mate. Hi, Andrew, as well. Keep your comments coming in. I do appreciate them. Like the stream as well. Let's see if we get to 30 likes. So I'll keep the comments coming. We will come to them on a regular basis.
Nappers. Shout out Sue, by the way. Sue, I was with Sue at Bolton away and we were talking about you, saying that she absolutely loves you. So big shout out to Sue. You were very, very delightful when I had a chat with you, and hopefully I'll see you at a few more games this year. Maybe if you come up to Fleetwood, we can introduce you to this famous man that I'm sat next to.
I'll just speak to Sue. It'll be a change to have nice company from Lincoln. So anyway, we'll go to Burton. Now, Burton, again, they are fighting. For me, they beat Exeter 2-0. It was a really, really great result. And Burton fans, all of a sudden, smile on their faces. They went to Sheffield Wednesday and put in a really, really good display. I know they conceded a few goals, but they had a go as well. They went to Shrewsbury and should have won. I've heard from Shrewsbury fans saying they're the best side they have watched this season, Burton Albion, because the fight was there. Now, I'm not having that Burton are a poor side or a 2014 in the league. Do I believe Burton are 15th, 16th? No, I believe they're 17th to 20th. I think they're better than the bottom 4, in my opinion. They've got Adebayo, and they've got Caledon, who I really like as well. There's more that you could mention as well. Powell, good player. But Dino's got their identity back where Burton would fight for every ball, and they know they're not better than a lot of teams, but they'll compete as well. And 2-1 down, kind of Wycombe on the score sheet for Forest Green, who we will come to in just a second. But Burton Albion, to come from behind 2-1 down, to win the game late on as well, and to pile pressure on the teams, obviously, who didn't pick up points at the weekend, the Port Vales, the Morecambes as well, Forest Green, who are also down there with them, is a brilliant, brilliant result.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't say the Fleetwoods and the Lincolns, because your team's been dragging us down into this.
What a guy, by the way. Get subscribing to him. Unreal content.
Yeah,
Carry on,
good man, Jack. I hope you're getting on at uni all right, because I know you were struggling, but really glad to see your podcast is doing really well. Just on Burton then, Ben. Burton are good now, aren't they? That's the thing that's happened. Do you know what it is? Isn't it crazy how when you sack a manager, how the form can uplift so much? I think it looks equally as we should be praising Dino and we should be praising the players. you've got to ask, what does it say about Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank and his management style? Because if Burton were able to score 3 goals, yes, it's against Forest Green, but Burton are able to put 3 past the team. A month and a half ago, would you reckon Burton would put 2 goals past the team? You wouldn't have thought it.
Plus 4 against Accrington.
Well, this is the thing, and Adebayo, I think he's come from Barnsley, hasn't he? Really, really good player. I think he's done it at this level before. So really good for them. Obviously, there's the red card, which I'm sure Dino will be mad about to Hamer. But like you said, winning when the other teams around them are losing, that just gives you confidence that you've got a chance. And do you know what? To me, it feels a little bit, Ben, when they sacked Jake Buxton a few years ago, and then they brought in Jimmy Floyd, and they went on that run, and they were probably like maybe top 10 from that point on. The end of the season, they were literally unplayable. It's starting to feel a little bit like we're in a similar sort of process to them, and Dino has definitely got the boys playing for them, and for Forest Green, alarm bells definitely ringing for me. If you can't go to beat a side like Burton, yes, they've got a lot of confidence right now, but they've still got a lot of frailty at the back. They're still not massively creative when it comes to going forward. So definitely one that Forest Green would have earmarked as a potential 3-pointer. So disappointed for them. I think that might put Ian Birchall under a bit of pressure now. They're not one to sack managers willy-nilly. But I'm starting to think that maybe they're going to have to sort of cut their ties sooner rather than later, because they're going to need to bring somebody in who's going to be able to give them safety at this level, because Forest Green are a club of a plan of getting to the Championship, and at this rate they look like they're going backwards, which Dale Vince, their forward-thinking chairman, will not be too happy about.
Yeah, I do think the owner at Forest Green Rovers is questionable at times. I think the manager is very questionable. I said on numerous occasions I don't like calling for managerial's head, but I think that he isn't the right man for Forest Green Rovers. We'll talk about managerial roles as well. You've got Mark Bonner, who is staying; he's not leaving. And you've got Paul Warne who's coming at Derby County as well. Paul Warne is the best manager you could get if you want to win promotion with a good squad. He's done it with Rotherham United. He's, every year he does it a different way. He doesn't go out and score 100 goals and get 100 points. He'll get you on a great run. And the good thing is with him, if he goes 4 wins in a row, he'll go 20 unbeaten. I think last year they were 23 unbeaten, and they lost to Accrington, won a game, and then lost to Fleetwood. And then that one loss disturbs you for a little bit. And it really does. You've got to mention a Fleetwood win in there some way. There's not been many.
Don't happen very often, do it, Ben?
No, we'll come to it in a bit. But it's a really good result. And they scored a goal away from home. Collins just scored another goal. How many times, Jake, do we say on this channel, when a player gets his first goal, a new club pressures on, they go and get a few? Michael Smith has done it. Freddie Ladapo has done it. Now Collins as well. So he's scoring for fun and good finishes as well. Cambridge, for me, at home, they battle, and they were the better team against Barnsley and lost. And I don't think they were great against Derby. I just think that a bit of quality showed in the end. It wasn't really a great game, but Derby got over the line as well, and probably needed to with how good these top 7, 8 are, because it was at 83 points to get into the playoffs last year. Wycombe got 6. I don't think it'd be that many, but the average over the last 4 seasons has been 75 points, and you needed 90 points to get second and 93 points to win the league. I think this year you're going to have to look at 78, 79 points to get into the playoffs. I think you're going to have a look at 91 to get second and maybe 94 to win the league. I think it's that good this year.
You've literally taken all my points on this game, Ben, with what you just said. Start ringing the bells, because Derby County have scored a league goal away from home. It's the end of the world is going to be coming. But like you said, James Collins is definitely a striker that, when he was last at this level with Luton Town, showed how he knows where the net is. What did he score? Nearly 30 goals or something in a single season. as Luton completely barnstormed this league and went straight through it. For me, James Collins is a good type of striker in a Paul Warne system. He's not the big one that you're going to play it long into, but he's the one that does all the running in and around a big man. So if you look at the first goal, I think it is, it comes from Collins, who is so relentless with his running and his pressing, chasing a lost cause. And what does he do? He gets in between the defender and the goalkeeper, and he slots it into the net. And then the second one as well is equally as good a finish. And Collins is not a player that should be playing at this level. He probably had offers to stick it in the Championship, and you wouldn't have forgiven him for taking one of those offers and probably becoming a bit more of a part player at a level above. But he's taken the step down to Derby County and done really well. I also think credit needs to go to Max Bird. Max Bird had a really good game from all accounts. He's someone that Derby have come through the Derby County Academy. So obviously very good for them to be able to produce players like that on a regular basis. As for Cambridge, obviously they were very strong at home prior to this game, weren't they? They won the first 4 or something like that. Obviously they lost to Barnsley as well. So yeah, again, it's not one that Cambridge would have said, you know what, if we can get anything out of Derby, it would be a bonus. It's not a game that they expect to win, given the circumstances and finances between the two teams. So I don't think Mark Bonner will be too disappointed. The thing for Cambridge United, the good thing is that Mark Bonner turned Rotherham United down publicly and has said that he's not going anywhere. So for Cambridge, that's brilliant. And whilst they'll be disappointed with Saturday's result, they'll be able to go to bed thinking Mark Bonner's here for the long term. So all in all, not a bad week for Cambridge, probably bar the result. So yeah.
Interesting week for Oxford. Obviously, a new takeover, new things happening there. And Carl Robinson came out in the week and said, it feels like a start of a new journey. And I think they need a freshen up in the squad, Oxford. I don't think they're good enough for the top 6 this year. We say it every year. These are 2 clubs that should be competing at both ends, at the top end of the table, never mind where they are at the moment. It was Stockley who got his second goal for Charlton. So point shared there, Jake, and maybe again 2 points dropped for both sides, really.
Yeah, from what I can tell, Charlton were pretty poor. Oxford are one of those sides. I spoke to Jack I think it was a couple of weeks ago. He was telling me how Lincoln's season was a bit of a roller coaster. I'm starting to think a little bit the same about Oxford. Obviously, they beat Bristol Rovers. They've lost to us. They've lost to a few other teams that they probably won't expect to. They weren't able to beat Morecambe. Don't think, and then they've drawn against Charlton. And to be fair, a point at the Valley isn't too bad, given the fact that obviously Plymouth went there and got turned over quite convincingly, didn't they? So, I think both sides relatively will be disappointed with their starts to the season, given their ambitions. So, it's one where there's room for both teams to improve. Just reading the report now, but it sort of looks that Billy Bowden probably should have scored towards the end of the game. I think he put it over, or that was blocked on the line. So yeah, difficult game to analyse really, because both teams are massively below par this season, not performing anywhere near the one. But good news for Oxford is that the ownership has now become clear, because I think it's been pretty cloudy over the last couple of weeks or so, and it also now looks that they've got some sort of director of football or sporting director in place to be able to give Carl Robinson that bit of help in the window, because I think everyone watching, especially Oxford fans, will be able to tell you that it was a disappointing summer window transfer wise, because they were so late in bringing people in. So off the pitch, good for Oxford, but on it, there's still a lot of room to be improved.
He's just come in and said, we're nowhere near good for the top 6. First off, Charlton were horrific. Leeburn and Kirk changed the game. Leeburn is a very, very good player, and Kirk, we know what he can do at this level with Crewe, and obviously never really got his kick at Blackpool, did he? Again, we'll go on to Cheltenham now. I said Shrewsbury would lose, and it's just one of those. They'll win next week, then they'll draw, and then they suddenly get to 50 points doing this, and it's very ups and downs. It is like a roller coaster. Goals either side of half time. Alfie May back on the goal sheet as well. as well. Wade Elliott putting a little decent run together, aren't they, Cheltenham? Since obviously draws away at Fleetwood and Port Vale, beat Exeter, and obviously now a win this weekend as well. So they're competing again and they're getting points where they were last year. Just a shame they started so poorly, but they're starting to add those points to the game and being nasty again, keeping clean sheets, scoring goals. Alfie May running through pockets. He picked up the ball, gave it, assist Cummins, runs into the box, and he hits the crossbar and goes in. It's a really, really neat finish. And I really like Alfie May. He's got ice running through his veins. He makes runs that not a lot of players can do at this level as well. And he's like a burglar in your house. You don't know what room he's in, and it's like so hard to deal with. And he's relentless at this level. And if he can carry on that goal scoring form, he got over 20 last year. I think he got 15 from February onwards. He's an absolute gem and one of the best strikers at this level for a reason. But Shrewsbury, disappointing display. When you stop, your Baleses, your Shipleys, there's no real creativity at Shrewsbury bar that, but still a positive stop, for both sides where they want to be at the end of the year.
Go on, Ben, let's do the Sky Sports analogy. You'd be the burglar, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I'd be hiding under the bed. Go on. You didn't know that, did you? You didn't know that. No, do you know what? I think that there's no coincidence the fact that since Ryan Broom's come back to Cheltenham, they've been a lot better of an outfit. Broom is someone that obviously had a really good experience there before, helping them get promoted. Obviously went off to Peterborough, didn't quite work out there. Been at Plymouth as well, hasn't he? And at Burton as well, he had a spell. So, but he's definitely a very good creative player, and they definitely needed that, because it's all right. It's all well and good having the likes of Alfie May in your team and Dallin Lunderloo who are scoring goals, but you need to have someone that's going to pass the ball to them and put it on a plate for them. So, Ryan Broom has been that missing link for them, and like I said, it's no coincidence that ever since he's back in the side, they're scoring goals again. So, no, really good result for Cheltenham. Like we said, it takes them 2 points clear of the bottom four at this moment in time, which, as long as they're above that dotted line every week, they're going to be happy. But for Salop, I'm happy they've lost, because it means we can go above them in the table if we win a game in hand. But they're one, aren't they? I feel like it's us and Shrewsbury are pretty similar, actually. We win one, we draw one, we lose one, and ultimately, they're going to win next week. I don't know who they're playing. It don't really matter who they're playing, because that's just the story of the Salop season. And they're just, like you said, without Shipley, without Tom Bayliss, they're struggling. And I'm not sure. I'm going to have a look. But I don't know if Daniel Udo managed to get any game time this week. Let's have a look. He's not even in the squad by the looks of it. He's not even been on the bench, so definitely someone that's going to come back in and impact things, you'd think, going forward.
Yeah, we said a lot. He was on the subs bench a lot last year for you boys. He never really got an opportunity, in my opinion. Anywhere he's gone, he's kind of found a home again at Charlton, which I really like. As Alfie May, who scored the goal, but Shrewsbury, they'll come back from it. That's what they do. And you mentioned Lincoln doing it. Fleetwood are the same. You can go and beat Derby, and you go and beat Bristol Rovers. And the problem is, why we are where we are, we can't do it on a regular basis. Ipswich, Portsmouth, Wednesday. It's like, well, that's that done. 5 o'clock. You have a couple of beers on the way back. Sunday morning, you wake up at 9 a.m. You're not still buzzing. It's like, we've got a game on Tuesday. We've got a game next week. We prepare. I recover today. We go to war tomorrow, and that's what the good sides do. Exeter, we will come to the big news in Matty Taylor, reportedly off to Rotherham United. However, there's a press conference being cancelled as well. Exeter are one of the sides that do play tomorrow night as well, who we will feature later on in the programme. They drew 2-2, and Sam Nombole get another goal. I can't do it, Jay. There's no need to take the
We went through this before we came on air. He goes, it was the usual suspects that scored for Exeter, wasn't it? He goes, yeah, Giovanni Brown and Sam Nomble. I go, no. He goes, how do you say it? I said, it's Sam Nombe. And then
Sam Nombe, there you are. We've done it right.
And you've gone with Sam Nombele? Is he cousin of Ousmane Dembele, of Moussa Dembele? Like what's going on?
Right, let's just get rid of him for a bit. Get rid of him, mute him for a bit. There we go. I'll mute him for a bit. There we are. He's a good player. You know, they both are. Graham and Giovanni Brown's cause havoc. They both do similar things that, you know, they can both hold the ball, both can run with the ball, can both be devastating in front of goal. You know, Giovanni Brown's got 11 goal contributions now, and it's just out of this world. And, you know, it's not mentioned because he plays for Exeter City. You know, Bristol Rovers' character for at the weekend was there in abundance. You know, 92nd minute, you'd be disappointed if you're an Exeter fan because you built up winning games of football, especially at St James's Park. You know, you put a good run together to get to 50 points, and you go and concede. John Marquis and Ryan Loft on the goal street for the gas. It's a really good ball. Again, great ball in, fizzed in at some pace, and he just directs it into the goal in front of the jubilant Bristol Rovers fans behind that goal. Before we go on to Matty Taylor, good result for Bristol Rovers because they've been up against it in the last few weeks.
Yeah, Rovers have had, you know, back-to-back home defeats over the last 3 or 4 weeks or so. Joey Barton's job, I'm sure, would have felt a little bit more, you know, pressurised every week he was coming into work. So, you know, we say this about Exeter, but it pretty much is the same two players scoring every week. You do worry the fact, obviously, given the news as well, given the fact that these two players are performing at such a high level. If one of them's not on it, or if they're both not on it, or one of them's out the squad, or they're both away, or they're both injured, you do worry about what might happen with Exeter. But for Gas, John Marquis off the mark as well. I'm telling you now, he's one that's similar to James Collins. He'll go on and score a few goals. John Marquis scores in batches. He doesn't split them out. He does runs. I think he scored 3 and 3 for us, and then went and didn't score in 14, and then he scored 2 against Sheffield Wednesday. So,
streaky.
And then obviously Ryan Loft. Do you know? I'm going to give credit to Jasper, who is a loanee that's on loan from Fulham. He was at Colchester last season. I don't know if you watched the FA Cup first round last year. He played Sudbury. He looked like a different sort of quality, but really good ball in. It's so difficult to play that ball in the 92nd minute when you've got 1,200 gas heads, you know, right next to you. The balling's perfect, and Ryan Loft, to be honest, who was scoring goals at Scunthorpe, was really taken to this Gas side. He was really impressive when we went down there a few weeks ago. It's good to see that him and if they can fit Marquis, Collins, and Loft in a front three together somehow, I think Bristol Rovers will score goals for fun. It's just going backwards that we worry about Bristol Rovers, isn't it? Because especially when they had Bobby Thomas out, they had Alfie Kilgore was suspended, but he's back. But then they played players like Glenn Whelan at centre half and things like that. So they need to get a settled back four, because at the minute they look to be changing, and chopping and changing a back four is only going to concede. You're only going to concede more goals. So I think it's a fair result based on the stats in the game. So, but we're probably going to move on, Ben, and we're going to come to your boys. Now, I wasn't happy with football this weekend. I can't imagine how you're feeling. Also, you look like you're going to draw 0-0. Another draw, which I'm sure really enthralled you. But going into the 90th minute, you would have probably taken it rather than a 1-0 defeat. Aitchison getting on the end of a cross, a good header. I know you called it as soon as it come off his head, didn't you? You said it was going in the goal.
I said he would.
And there you are, 1-0 to Barnsley. And obviously I've not watched the whole game back. You would have watched the whole game. But going into it, Barnsley are probably the form team in the division. So for you, was a result expected, even though it did come a bit later than what you might have thought?
I thought Barnsley were probably the worst performance of the season, but they won ugly where they needed to do it. You know, I thought Thomas was immense. Luke Thomas, I mentioned him 5-6 times in the vlog, saying how good he was. And I thought, you know, Norwood offered a threat as well. Devante offered a threat, but he was offside every time. I just think for us, Fleetwood's first 8 players, or 7 players, They look really compact. We don't look like really we're going to concede many goals. We do still concede chances. It's going to happen. But Barnsley were really, really, firm in every time they came forward. And Accrington was the man who gave it to Norwood. He ran from the halfway line. He's probably sprinted 55, 60 yards to get into the box in the 90th minute. He'd just come on 5 minutes prior as well. It's a really good ball in by James Norwood. We know he can do it. He'd scored 3 goals previously, James Norwood, this season. Shows his quality. One's been with his left, one's been with his right, one's been with a header. And that just shows you what kind of havoc he can cause at League One level. It's a really good ball in, decent speed. I don't want to talk about the Fleetwood marking because I'll be here all day. It's comical how you can let a free man run into the box, give him 5 yards free space. It's a really good header under little pressure, and they win it 1-0. So for me, I thought Fleetwood were negative. I thought Fleetwood were soft. I thought Fleetwood didn't look like scoring at any given time. I thought when you're playing Harvey McAdam at right mid, it's insulting to who's not even a winger. It's insulting to the 3 wingers that you've got on the bench in Mendes, Gomez, Paddy Lane and Kean Hayes, who can all affect the game, even if it's 15 minutes prior to when they came on. So it's disappointing, but Barnsley won it 1-0. I'm used to it now, mate, and it's a great result on the road for them. And it sent their fans into jubilation. It sent me into a meltdown. So
shades of last year. Shades of last year, given the fact that no, not at all.
No, absolutely not, because I don't think it was going to come. For me, last year, you knew it was always going to happen, and you knew we were conceding chances and we needed to do something. It came out of a bit of quality and one mistake, really. I was more annoyed that we hadn't made a change, that we hadn't gone for the game. I think we scored two goals at home in the last 5 games. So we need to be better on the front foot. We need to start with actual wingers and go for it, because we play Burton tomorrow, which we'll come to. We go to Portsmouth on Saturday, and I'm not being funny, right? We go to Fratton Park, who, to be honest, it's one of the best grounds, for the supporters, and they're on great form. I believe as much as we'll get a result there as I'll make it as a Premier League footballer. So there's hope. There's hope as well. We'll just come to the comments before. There's probably the smallest game in the week, and Ipswich against Portsmouth. There's nothing really riding on that, was there? Come on, the Pilgrims. But now of interest on scale of 1 to 9, would you rate Fleetwood one to start the season 1 to 10? 6, because we've been better. We've kept some clean sheets. We've not conceded as many goals. I think we're one of the best defensive sides. We've only conceded 9 goals. We're not losing games of football. We only lost 2 in 10. We played some decent sides. We played Plymouth already. We played Peterborough already. We played
Lincoln.
We played Derby. We've still got a tough run coming up though. So I'd probably go 6. I just think we're very negative to watch, but we've sorted out our issues where we look solid. We just need to look like we're going to score some goals as well. But good question though. And Marcus is a player that scores 3 in about 20 games. Yeah, maybe 4. Barnsley need to find another strike if they want to compete. Yeah. Yes, they will be coming to home park. I will be doing every game this year, so don't you worry. Plymouth away, by the way, is a 1 game. Every year I go, yeah, whatever happens, I'm going. I love a trip to home park. Not been for 4 years now. Last year was the only game I missed, was at Plymouth away, for stupid reasons. That was the only game I missed. Pompey looked dire, to be honest. Watching that game made me surprised that we were all still unbeaten, which we will come to. There's 80 people in the chat, so get liking while you're here, guys. That'd be appreciated. This is the big game. This is the Super Sunday of Saturday, really. Super Saturday, we should call it, as well. It was 3-2 to Ipswich. Again, Marcus Harness, the man who gets the goal for the Tractor Boys. And then Colby Bishop as well gets 2 penalties for the away side as well. Freddie Ladapo and Wes Burns also score for the Tractor Boys as well. Ipswich, I want to talk about Ipswich first.
Mm-hmm.
Great response. They've gone on a little run of playing the best teams in the division, if you have a look at it. They've gone to play Sheffield Wednesday away. They've drawn 2-2. They should win it, really, after being 2-0 up. They played Plymouth. They've lost 2-1, unfortunately. This was the game where you thought, if they lost this or drew this, it's like, well, who are they beating? And they're not beating the teams around them. They won this with great character. Next up is another tough game, isn't it, for them as well? So it keeps coming at you for Ipswich, but it's a really good result and shows character. Freddie Ladapo 2-2 now. Great goal as well. Wes Burns gets into the box, can hardly miss, although he did miss him at Fleetwood a lot of the time. Great result.
Yeah, it's a statement win. That's what it is, to go and beat the only unbeaten side so far this season, who were at level on points at the start of the day. Really impressed with Ipswich and the way that they played. Obviously, it was written in the stars that Marcus Harness was going to score. Ex-Pompey man Connor Chaplin, he hit the post as well. But Ipswich, do you know what I think it is, Ben? And we got absolutely pelters for talking about fan bases last year and things like that. But having 28,000 or however many they had, was it 25, 26,000 home supporters?
Yeah, altogether 23 from Portsmouth as well.
Yeah, it's such a big decisive factor. Having that many people cheering you on. And ultimately saw them over the line. It was a game that it looked like it swung. When Pompey equalised the second time, you thought maybe Pompey going to go and completely turn it around. Cowley has a good record at Portman Road, especially when he was the manager of us. So, yeah.
Time for the Danny Cowley update.
Yeah,
he loves him.
I do love him. But no,
I'll get on to him in a minute because I've got nice words to say.
It really statement win for Ipswich, and obviously sends them back into the automatic promotion spots. I think this win, as good as it is for the confidence of Ipswich, it's psychological. They're now they've beaten one of the big teams. Now they lost to Plymouth the other week, but now they've beaten one of the teams that are going to be in and around it. They've just got to pick off the smaller teams, and they've just got to be able to be a bit nastier. So, no, great result for Ipswich, and I'm sure Kieran McKenna was thrilled on Saturday tea time.
Yeah, agree. Portsmouth, was it poor? Yes. Was it up to the normal standards? No. One thing you've got to remember, this defeat was always going to come. And I think in some games this year, they've rode a lot where they probably were lucky to win. In my opinion, Peterborough, maybe, Port Vale, maybe. But they've won and they've got through it where they wouldn't normally do so. Now, for me, Danny Cowley is the best manager you want in this situation as well. For me, I always find when you're on an unbeaten run, you're kind of dreading the defeat, aren't you? You know it's going to come at some point. So maybe now that's gone, they can react to it. And then when they win a couple, it's like, well, it's gone now. We know what it feels like. We don't want that to happen again. It's kind of waiting for the inventable. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to use a girlfriend analogy ever again. So I'm not going to do that this week.
Because you haven't got one.
Anyway. So I just think it was always going to come for Portsmouth, but stick with him. He's a fantastic manager. By the way, he's the one who Portsmouth 3 years ago, we all talk about how amazing their supporters, and it's always been that. It went flat, it went dire, the mood was horrible, the ground was toxic to go to, the fans didn't want to go and watch the team, the fans didn't like the manager was not good enough for Portsmouth Football Club. He was sour, he was doom and gloom. You just didn't want to hear from him, you didn't want to see him. He's brought the good times, smiling, bringing supporters in. You saw the interview with Tom and you thought, what a top bloke. And you can tell that he's basically, if he was there another hour, he'd answer the questions. And you can, he follows a lot of Portsmouth fans on Twitter as well and gets involved with them. Which for me, I really, really like. And he says when he lost, he will take accountability. He will change it. I've got no doubt about it. They are good enough for the top two. I think Ipswich are better than Portsmouth, in my opinion. I do. But Portsmouth are one hell of a team. They've got strength. They've got integrity. They've not got knowledge. They're not quite KSI. But they're one hell of a football team. One good fan base as well. And for me, Saturday was a blip. They'll bounce back.
Yeah, I feel like you don't truly know Danny Cowley unless he's managed your team and the impact that he can have on your local community and everything. Like such a top bloke. And yes, their performance on Saturday was not the best that they've put together this year. But like you say, they've got the monkey off the back. Like you say, you're always going to lose. You can't go 46 games unbeaten in League One purely because of the competitiveness of it. It's highly unlikely. So for them to lose, I think it'd probably be a good thing for them.
Yeah.
Positives: Colby Bishop scoring twice. He's really taken to life at Pompey really well. I think they had some pretty good performers. I think, by all accounts, Dane Scarlett was one that had another good game. Connor Ogilvie at the back as well looked all right. So, look, positives for Pompey, even though they've been beaten. And you have no doubt under Danny Cowley that they know how to win football games. Danny Cowley knows how to win games of football in all sorts of ways, and they've got the armoury to do it. Owen Dale, Dane Scarlett, Colby Bishop, Ronan Curtis, etc., Joe Piggott. It's a bit mental, isn't it? The options that they've got, and they're definitely going to be up there, no doubt about it. Danny Cowley has got Pompey. Everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet. The dinner ladies, the players, the supporters, everybody, and really happy for them.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and we'll go on to MK Dons quickly as well. Honestly, I was tearing my hair out watching this game. I watched 10 minutes of it. MK Dons trying to pass to Peterborough or something. They're just so sloppy. 3-2, it was, late goals as well. It doesn't reflect the scoreline. Peterborough should have won this maybe 6-0, in my opinion. I just think the Poku with a goal as well. So much room, good finish to be fair as well. Good result for Peterborough because they've gone through the middle of it, and they've, especially away from home, they've got a great result there as well. 3 goals, 3 points. Since Dan McCanty, obviously, maybe that's given them a bit of a lift to kind of go, this is the end of the journey. We need to end it with this as well. So good result, under pressure there as well. MK Dons nowhere near at the races. They just look so poor, so sloppy. Nothing like last year where they were solid, scored goals, didn't look like conceding, and will look very good.
Yeah, I think your thesis about Peterborough being very good in the easy moments and then crumbling under pressures sort of came together in one 90-minute performance, Ben, to be honest. Obviously, MK made it easy for them. It's just pathetic, isn't it? The defender, if that's your team, there's no one in 5 yards of Clark Harris. With Poku, they've given the ball straight to Ricky J. Jones to go and score. It's poor stuff, and that is when Peterborough are at their best, when you give it to them on a plate. And then you can tell that towards the end of the 90 minutes that Peterborough were starting to find it difficult because MK were hassling a bit in the second half, and they weren't great, but they were better than what they were in the first half, and they caused them problems. And then ultimately the scoreline looks a lot better because MK Dons have scored 2 goals when they've actually given Peterborough, they've made the moment hard for them. So I think if you're an MK fan, you're disappointed that you've done it for 5 minutes rather than 85 minutes, because if you do it for 85 minutes, like you showed the other week, you can beat Peterborough by getting in their faces and being aggressive. And MK Dons just don't have that in them, don't they? They're just too nice playing it around the back. And we said this a couple of weeks ago. If you're pressing MK Dons in areas where they're comfortable with the ball, you're going to make chances out of them. And I think a lot of teams are going to have quite a lot of joy against them this year with pressing high and really forcing them to play into areas that they don't want to play in at all.
Yeah, agree. We'll go into the last 2 games quickly as well. Port Vale, disappointing there, but that is the story of Port Vale season. It won't be reflected on games like this. And for me, I thought they battled against Wednesday, and I thought they showed a good account of themselves. It's just a bit of moment of glimpse from Will Vokes. It's an absolute moment of quality where he's thunderbolted into the top corner, and it's a really, really good strike as well. They probably could have had a couple, Smith and Bannon just look menacing together. And I don't want to say it, but I think those two are like the League One, Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne, and just what they can offer. And, the creativity, his wonder of a right and a left foot, and then, Michael Smith's head, right or left foot, he can score with any. So it'd be, I think we said at the start of the year, I think, they'll get 10 goals, setting up for each other, didn't we? And I think that'll well and truly continue. But Vokes is the match winner. Really good result for them because they've won 4 or 5 away games this year, Sheffield Wednesday, and putting in good performances, keeping clean sheets. The beaten side, they should be beaten. They beat Wycombe last week at home. 11 games, they played 6 at Hillsborough, 5 away from home, but they're putting in results, and they must be getting a bit bored of winning games of football because they do on such a regular basis. And those players, by the way, who they thought Oh, why are we signing Ben Hennigan? Looking solid, like Nat said. David Stockdale, 1-0 away from home. What does he do? Waste time, in a decent way as well. This year they look a little bit different in my eyes. Look like a little bit nastier, a little bit more game know-how, intelligent.
Yeah, I've spoke to a Wednesday fan today about from pretty much all weekend about.
Who's that, Jake?
No comment. She's
Carry on.
Yeah, I've been speaking to her about Wednesday. And she said, yeah, I speak to women, Ben, like you. Basically, he's going to go red now. Red is Fleetwood's home kit. No, but Wednesday, what she said to me was that this time last year, Wednesday would have lost that or drawn it. That's the difference. There's a difference in mentality. And yeah, Wednesday, to be fair, last year were very guilty of giving the smaller sides a chance when they were away from home. I think the goal is a moment of brilliance. Will Volks set absolute screamer, but I do not want to talk about more. It's the celebration. I love it. Fantastic celebration. Great away following from Wednesday, which you're becoming accustomed to. I don't want to praise them too much because I won't live it down. But still, look at Nappers. He's very red, isn't he? But yeah, no, they just. They've got a different. Wednesday this year are a different animal. They've signed some, like you said, they were moaning about signing these League One players, but these are League One players that, given an environment like Sheffield Wednesday, a stadium, a fan base, can absolutely go on and perform to Championship standards. So, yeah, good result for Wednesday. Good to see that they're able to win these games. Obviously, don't feel like you need to do it in a few weeks because I won't be coming on if you do. But even then, good to see him keeping up with the top ends.
How the tables can turn.
No, because do you know what? But it'd be typical, like we did to Derby. We'll show up and we might turn them over. I'm not going to say
anyway. Before we get Wednesday fans, they are Stacey West, not me. I really like Wednesday. Great result. Lastly, I'll let you start off with it. Wycombe 0, Plymouth 1. Vokes Mehmeti can't quite cause Argyle any danger. An early penalty by Sam Cosgrove, adding to his goal at Derby earlier this month.
Yeah, and speaking to Plymouth fans before the game, Wycombe's their bogey ground. Wycombe are a team that Plymouth can never seem to beat. However, under Schumacher, it's like this team knows absolutely no limits, isn't it, Ben? They've just got quality all over the pitch, and whilst we've seen the likes of MK Dons and Wycombe themselves struggle after the playoffs of getting so close last year, Plymouth have completely stepped it up a gear. With the recruitment, I think was excellent. I think they signed some really good players. The likes of Azaz and Mamba. Whittaker's one that's impacted the team, and then Sam Cosgrove, who didn't particularly pull up any trees at Salop. What was it last season? He was on loan at Shrewsbury. Not particularly pulled any trees up. He was at Birmingham as well. Not really pulled up any trees there.
It's a shame because he's a good player.
Yeah, and the thing is, Schumacher, similar to Cowley, I think Schumacher's got that about him where he's a bit of a man motivator. If he comes from the same sort of school of thought as Ryan Lowe, he's going to be someone that is a really good man manager. And I think that you've got to give Sam Cosgrove that sort of manager to let him thrive. And ultimately, Cosgrove's the difference between the two teams. Wycombe, for me, just not looking at all like themselves. I know Alex Broom and other Wycombe fans that I know they're not particularly taken too kind. They think that they were hoping that Rotherham were going to give Ainsworth the job so that they could find someone else. But yeah, just another lacklustre performance from Wycombe so far this year. And to be honest, they probably deserved their league position given what they've offered up so far. So, no, great result for Plymouth. Continue to go from strength to strength, and with every coming week, you go and yeah, Plymouth are going to do it. They go. You know what I mean? They just. I don't know how to describe them anymore, Ben, because they're just the best team in the league. They are, and they're top of the league. They're the best team. They've got the best mentality. They've got probably not the best squad on paper, but you don't need the best squad on paper to win the league. You need the best team in the league to win the league. And ultimately, I think that's what Plymouth have got with the fan base, the manager, everything's they're singing from the same hymn sheet, similar to Ipswich, but I just back them in that moment over an Ipswich or a Pompey. That's for me, but you can disagree with me.
Yeah, I think overall team spirit, gun owners, sticking together, squad depth, you've got it, and the loanees are vital to that. Hopefully, some don't get recalled, which I don't think they will. You look at the bench, they're Hardy on the bench, Mumba on the bench, there's options there, and they're going to these difficult places and winning where they might not have done last year or 2 years ago. 2 years ago, they conceded 80 odd goals. Last year they got 2 points at home part every game, so it's a good record for them. They're a good side, good players, good manager, good spirit. I'm out of words really, although I've only used one in good. I just think they're excellent. I really do. And I thought Wycombe would be a tough place to go for them for how they play and how Wycombe play, and they kind of level each other out. No problem. Absolute no problem. Just quickly, Jake, before we get into the table part, 30 seconds. Discuss your channel while I'm getting the next graphic to come up, where you can go and subscribe to the Stacey West podcast on the road to 1,000 subscribers.
Come on over, guys. Let me talk to you about the Stacey West podcast. So the Stacey West is a fan-run website by a guy called Gary Hutchinson. He is a football journalist who basically just writes all things about Lincoln, current news. He does a load of features and stuff like that on the website as well. So if you prefer written content, get yourself over there. We've got the podcast that goes out every Friday. There's 2 or 4 of us are genuinely on that talking about football. So last week we were talking about the importance of this football regulator that seems to be scrapped, that we don't know what the case is. That is also, before I go and plug my actual channel, that football report that Tracy Crouch made was really important. You need to make sure you're clued up on that, because the long-term future of your EFL club relies on something like that. So make sure you're clued up on it, because the more people that are, the more chance we stand of securing the long-term future of everyone's club here, because we'd hate to see teams like Bury and Bolton and people go out of business. Onto my channel then, the Stacey West. It is called 650 subscribers at the moment, on the road for 1,000. We do preview shows, so we have a fan of an opposition on. So this week I've got Tyler Rowlinson coming on to talk about the game against Charlton on Saturday. We do a West End Imp show, which is basically like a 15-20 minute review of a game, pretty much straight up after it's finished. So if you could come over and subscribe, I'm sure Nappers will put it somewhere in the description or in this little rolly thing that's going along the bottom. But honestly, any likes and subscribes, massively appreciated. Put a lot of work into it so far this year, and hopefully it's sort of coming out. It's showcased, and it all makes it worth it when you get to an away game and you get noticed, and people are talking about how the quality of your videos is going up. So really thankful for everybody that's come over and subscribed. And if you haven't, please go and subscribe to me, and also please go and subscribe to this man. I've got the hang of it now, Ben. I'm not you're by the door. Go and subscribe to this man as well. Go and vote for him in the FCAs, because he's up against some tough opposition. But if a little boy from Fleetwood could go and put his name in the ring, there's no chance that if he can't win. And if he does win, I'm having some sort of recognition, by the way. But go and subscribe to him, because he's nearly going to get 10k, and that is one hell of an achievement. That's pretty much like 4 times the Fleetwood crowd. So it'll be the most famous thing to ever come out of Lytham St Anne's and all.
Alfie Bow. I do appreciate that, Jake, as well. Football Content Creator Awards. Go to their website, Football Content Creator Voting. Go to Best Football League Content Creator and vote COD Vlogs. There's Fleetwood and then 7 big championship clubs, and I mean big. Some good content creators in there. So if you can go and vote, that'd be massively appreciated. You can vote again now into the second round. There's not long to go as well. The next thing, we've got a graphic, just like Tom does on 4-0 written all over it. We've got to mention him. Good mate of ours. top man. I was on his show last night as well. You know, he's a really good lad. He's on the road to 12k now. I'll be seeing him Saturday. It'd be nice to actually hang around with a good League One club at Crater instead of, not mentioning names. But again, we've saw his little graphic that we're going to do as well. We'll start off with the bottom half of League One, Jake, and it's on the screen now. Burton, obviously, just above Morecambe, where that text is getting in the way. But Forest Green also lost. Bristol was picking up a point. You look at that. MK Dons, Wycombe, Oxford, all together. We mentioned Charlton, who, only drew but shooted up on goal difference. You can just see how close together this league is. Then you've got usual suspects in Cheltenham, Pompey and Fleetwood, who we all thought would be together. And any teams really surprising you in a good way in that bottom half, that they're above it a little bit more? Obviously, Cheltenham, I think they lost the first 4 games, didn't they? Or the first 3 games. You think the last 7 games they picked up 11 points, which is a good record, and Port Vale have been really solid as well.
Do you know what, Ben? I'm going to say you guys. I've been relatively impressed with you lot. Obviously, yes, you're not winning games of football, but you're not losing games either. And bear in mind where you were last season, with the fact you finished on 40 points. You stayed up literally by the skin of your teeth. To see, for you guys to be 3 points clear with a game in hand, you could go 6 points clear of the bottom 4, and we're only at the beginning of October. And for where it looked like you were heading last year, I think you would admit that you were worried about Fleetwood. But this year, I don't see the same stress marks on your forward. I don't see you worried. I don't see you staying up at night. Do you know what I mean? I think you've got a team that are going to fight and they're going to battle. And I think last year you would have killed for a team like that. And now you've got it. Now all you need to do is you need to go and add that bit of star quality going forward.
We'll be okay.
I think you'll be fine. And I think that's a massive improvement for you based on last year. Also, very nice to see that graphic and not see my football club. That was
now this is where you're going to get a little bit annoyed. Now, I knew he'd say that, so I thought, how can I annoy him? Now, where Lincoln are, they're a little bit in the middle, like we always said that those teams are. Let's have a look at the top half of the League One table. As you can see, we've done the top 9. We thought, we don't carry on past there. They're the only teams that are worth... No, I'm only joking. There's other good teams down there as well.
Can I just say, Ben?
Accrington, Stanley, Derby, Peterborough just outside the playoffs. All of those 3 clubs winning this weekend as well. Bolton Wanderers win again at home against Lincoln City. Barnsley and go to Highbury and win. Portsmouth do lose to High Flying Ipswich. But on another day, that can change. They do play each other the last game week in December. Sheffield Wednesday also go away from home and win by 1-0. As do Plymouth, who maintain 25 points after 11 games this season. They've only lost twice, and one of those are against Fleetwood Town. Jake, having a look at that, would you say maybe, no disrespect to Accrington Stanley, they could be the 8 clubs that really challenge if we don't have a surprise package?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think at least 4 of them are going to be going for the 2 at the top, maybe even 5 or maybe even the full complement of 6 going for automatic promotion going into the last couple of weeks of April. So no disrespect to Accrington. I mean, we're going to be taking their place when we beat Charlton on the weekend into 9th. So you'll be able to see us on that graphic next week, hopefully. But yeah, I think so. There's always one surprise, Ben. There's always one team that puts a run together and is not meant to be in and around it. And to be honest, it could be Exeter, it could be Fleetwood, it could be anybody. So. Although I think you are probably looking at a settled. Last year it was definitely a settled top 12 and a settled bottom 12. This year I think the lines are a little bit more greyed out. I think that there are teams that sort of maybe that 9th to 15th sort of is a little bit more tighter and a little bit more constrained together rather than it was last year, where you had 3 teams that were far too good and 3 teams that weren't. So. Yeah, look, no disrespect to Accrington, but I don't think they'll be there long. But football, it's a weird game, isn't it? They went pretty close to coming in the playoffs a few years ago, didn't they? So you never know, and there's always a surprise package. So looking forward to seeing how they develop. Hopefully it's my team. Hopefully for you it's your team. So, but yeah, I would agree with what you said there.
Jake, thank you very much as well. Again, Fleetwood do play tomorrow away at Burton, which we will be back for as well. We'll also be shows this week looking into Saturday's fixtures as well. And we will be back next week as well, discussing the weekend's games as well. Jake, any final words?
No, mate. Just yeah. I think having this hour to talk football with you has been a bit of a good therapy session. Because trust me, I was a miserable git driving home from Bolton on
He wouldn't
Saturday.
even talk to me, by the way. He goes, "Don't want to talk to you. Don't message me." Right. So I thought he's going to go home and cry. There's a pigeon going out. I'm like, oh, you can go out, but you don't want to talk to me.
I went out and drank my sorrows away. No, yeah, I needed to, mate, because I was that mad. That mad with some people, but no, always good to come and talk football. Nappers, it's always enjoyable. Maybe we can diversify and get a few people, a few well-known people to come on, so that we're not just blighting our opinions down the phone at people every week. But no, just good to come out and talk about it, and hopefully next week's a brighter week for us both, and we're both sat here with 3 points out of 3, and rather than none.
In the words of Fabrizio Romano, I'm just going to leave it here.
Romano.
New transfer. New signing.
No. Start again.
Go.
Start again. Fabrizio Romano, not Romero.
Jake, right? Not being funny, right? I talk football. I don't care if I get the words wrong.
I do.
You know what I mean, right?
I don't know. Fabrizio Romano.
Right.
Who's
Romano. Here we go. They are the closing lines. Thank you very much, all that have watched down below as well. If you could like this stream as well, we're currently on 32 likes. There's 54 of you in. If you've not liked already, just give me a little like when you go on. Just press a thumbs up. That'll register it. Subscribe down below. Press subscribe. Turn notifications on if you haven't already. That also helps support the channel. Doesn't cost anything. You just get notified when we go live or when I upload a video, which will be a late video tomorrow. Away at Burton Albion, hopefully in jubilant mood. But thank you, Jake, for coming on.
No worries, mate. Always a pleasure.
And again, thank you to you guys that make the show what it is as well. Thanks all. Have a good week. Please like, subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, I will see you later. Up the Cods.
Up the Imps. Yeah, man.
Shabba.